What needs to be in it in order to pacify all the various parts of your conference?
Well, I think the most important thing is that Trump publicly endorses the plan. And right now there's uncertainty as to whether it should be one bill or two bills. I think you read off all the tax cuts that he wants, and I think that's great. I support all those tax cuts. But for the budget reconciliation to work, then you're going to have to offset those tax cuts with revenue. So a couple of the exemptions he mentioned would help a little bit, but it still doesn't pay for the Social Security exemption. That's $1.4 trillion, if I'm correct, but with what the CBO scores that. So that's a pretty substantial amount that's going to have to be offset in other areas. So I'm going to support whatever, because I believe that we need to make our fiscal house in order. I believe we need to eliminate these trillion-dollar annual deficits. And to do that, it's not going to be easy. I'm willing to do that. But I think to get the votes to get through the House of Representatives, which every single Republican is going to have to support, I think the president's going to have to endorse it and say, this is my bill, this is my agenda, and this is what the people gave me a mandate to pass.
Well, so for those hardline fiscal conservatives within the conference, sir, what actually is realistically possible to achieve in terms of spending cuts? Is it going to have to reach entitlements to get to the kind of levels that they are pushing for?
Well, the reconciliation is mandatory spending. It's not discretionary spending. A lot of the stuff that a lot of conservatives go on TV and talk about, like foreign aid, that's discretionary. That's not mandatory spending. So when you talk about mandatory spending, you're talking about more difficult pots of money in the budget, which are ironically the bigger pot. Now, Social Security is the biggest one. The president's made very clear he doesn't want to touch Social Security, and Congress would never do that in this session. So Social Security is off the table. Medicare and Medicaid, what he's talked about and what members of Congress have talked about are reforms, not cutting the total budget, but making reforms for payments to try to eliminate fraud and improper payments and things like that. So obviously, a lot of people in the healthcare industry are nervous about that. We've been hearing from them today on Capitol Hill. So it's very difficult to make this type of change that I think needs to be made. But again, my advice is that President Trump's going to have to say, this is my specific bill. And I think he would get there a lot quicker than waiting for Congress, because if you ask 217 of my colleagues what their opinion is, you're going to get 217 different opinions. And I think the most important opinion in Washington is Trump's opinion. And I think that would speed this process up a lot if he would come out and endorse a specific plan.
Well, and then there's the opinion of Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency, Mr. Chairman. Last night, I spoke with someone who sits on the Oversight Committee with you, Republican Congressman Byron Donalds of Florida. And this is what he had to say about Elon Musk and the DOGE and the access to information they are getting.
There is nothing he can do without approval from either the President of the United States or with respect to members of Congress voting for it in legislation. But let's also be very clear. Let's not act like the United States has been able to pass audits every single year. That is not the case. So you got to have somebody who understands how to reorganize organizations and get them to be lean and efficient. And that's what Elon is doing.
But as Elon Musk does this work, Mr. Chairman, he's doing so as someone who is not an elected representative like you yourself are. He wasn't confirmed by the Senate through the advise and consent process. Is there an oversight role for your committee specifically to play here? Why not have him testify before you?
Well, I think Elon Musk is being very transparent. He's tweeting out multiple tweets every hour about every thought that goes through his mind on DOGE. I think that's where he tests a lot of his ideas on Twitter, for better or worse. But the most important thing for me as chairman of the Oversight Committee, he's being very transparent. I don't think there's anything that Musk or Trump have talked about with respect to DOGE that they didn't talk about during the campaign. So when you talk about unelected people making decisions, I think in the Biden administration, we had a lot of unelected bureaucrats that no one, including myself, ever knew who they were, that were making a lot of decisions in a lot of the the different cabinets and
agencies.
agencies.
But you did, in the Oversight Committee, go to great lengths to try to at least hold those people accountable. Isn't there a difference between transparency and accountability?
Well, everything that I've asked from DOGE, they've responded. When I would ask for information in the previous administration, we would hear nothing but crickets, or a media story would come out, attacking me for having the audacity to ask for something. I think that as long as Musk continues to be transparent, I think that's the most important thing. But Byron Donalds is right. He doesn't have the authority to do anything. It's either the President of the United States or Congress. And, with respect to Musk, he's not operating, behind closed doors in a smoke-filled room. He is being very transparent. He's in communication with my committee. He's in communication with, I know, Senator Ernst in the Senate. And we're just trying to work together in a sincere fashion to find waste, fraud, abuse, and mismanagement in the federal government to root out. There are worthy government programs. There are tremendous federal employees, but there are a lot of, employees that I think the taxpayers could do without. And there are a lot of programs that are obsolete or unneeded. So we're just trying to figure out what we need and what we don't. This is playing out in the public role. The media should be, pretty happy that there's transparency and open debate and discussion and dialogue, and politicians and the president are available for press conferences and things like that. So as long as we keep doing that, I think most people on the Oversight Committee are going to be pretty happy.
So do you, sir, have access and transparency into the information of, say, through the Treasury payment system, what exact details Musk and the DOGE team have been able to access, whose specific Social Security numbers, for example? Do you have transparency that far?
I think what Musk is trying, I don't think Musk is trying to, create a fake account to draw a $600 a month Social Security check. I think what he's trying to do is figure out where the kinks are in the system that are allowing for improper payments and fraud. There are a lot of fraudulent Social Security accounts all across America where, and this is a known fact, that this thing called improper payments, where our software is susceptible to being hacked, and people are getting unemployment payments that aren't real people. People are in fake businesses, are getting SBA loans. People are drawing Social Security that don't exist. It's part of a international scam that's costing Americans a fortune. And I think that's what the objective of Musk with Treasury and Social Security is, to try to get a handle on how much of these improper payments are going out. And is there a way to fix the software system to prevent cyber fraud?